The ballroom fell silent as Princess Charlotte, just 10 years old, stepped into the spotlight, wearing none other than Princess Diana's lover's knot tiara. It was once Diana's most treasured heirloom, worn through her most iconic royal moments. But this wasn't just a tiara, it was a message. As the young princess moved with grace beyond her years, all eyes turned to Queen Camilla, who was visibly shaken. Sources close to the palace say Camilla left the event early, pale and teary, after seeing the symbol of Diana's enduring legacy now passed to Charlotte. While Camilla holds the crown, it's Charlotte who captured the heart of the people. Social media exploded with comparisons, calling Charlotte the new people's princess. In a single evening, decades of quiet tension resurfaced, with one royal jewel igniting a fresh wave of emotion, memory, and a subtle shift in royal power that no one saw coming. The moment of revelation. On July 15, 2025, Princess Charlotte of Wales, aged just 10, stepped into the gilded ballroom of Buckingham Palace wearing a tiara that changed the atmosphere in seconds. The Queen Mary's lover's knot. Tiara, once worn by Princess Diana and later by the Princess of Wales, Kate Middleton, rested gently on Charlotte's head. It wasn't just a piece of royal jewelry. It was a signal, a torch passed, a legacy reawakened. This was no ordinary debut. The tiara, originally crafted in 1913–14 for Queen Mary, had been the crown jewel of Diana's public life throughout the 1980s. Its appearance on Charlotte, the youngest female heir in the direct line, ignited a storm of emotion across Britain. But one face told the most gripping story of the night: Queen Camilla, who appeared visibly shaken. Aides reported her tearing up moments after Charlotte's arrival. "She froze," whispered one palace insider. "You could feel the tension shift." Cameras flashed. Journalists typed furiously. Social media exploded. Yet the moment itself was silent, suspended in time. Charlotte, calm, upright, wearing her mother's pale blue gown from a 2015 state dinner, stood between past and future. And in that moment, public memory collided with royal protocol. For Camilla, it wasn't just the sight of a tiara. It was the return of Diana's presence in the palace, through the next generation. "It wasn't about the diamonds," said a royal staffer. "It was about who they belonged to, emotionally, historically, and now, symbolically." What Charlotte wore on her head wasn't just an heirloom, it was a story. One crafted over a century, sharpened by scandal, softened by public affection, and now reborn in the eyes of a girl who never met her grandmother. The tiara had traveled from Queen Mary to Diana to Kate, and now to Charlotte. But to understand its power, we must go back to the origins of the lover's knot itself, because behind every jewel lies a deeper truth. A tiara full of history. The lover's knot. Tiara, formally commissioned in 1914, was created for Queen Mary as a sentimental replica of a piece worn by her own mother from the Cambridge family line. Crafted by royal jeweler Garrard & Co., the tiara featured 19 diamond arches, each topped with pearl drops, a design meant to symbolize love, loyalty, and lineage. It first passed to Queen Elizabeth II, who later loaned it to Princess Diana in 1981, just before her royal wedding. Diana, however, famously declined to wear it at her wedding, choosing instead the Spencer family tiara, a personal nod to her heritage. But throughout the 1980s and early 1990s, the lover's knot became Diana's signature crown. She wore it on her 1989 trip to Hong Kong, during state banquets, and in numerous official portraits. The piece shimmered not just with diamonds, but with emotion, as Diana's marriage and public image unraveled. After her divorce in 1996, the tiara was returned to Queen Elizabeth II, where it sat unused for nearly 2 decades. It wasn't until December 2015 that it re-emerged, this time on the head of Kate Middleton, the new Princess of Wales. She wore it to a diplomatic reception, marking her entry into the deeper symbolism of royal duty. From that point forward, the tiara became Kate's emblem, worn at key events like the 2022 state visit from South Africa, and again at the 2025 French state dinner. By the time Charlotte appeared in it, the tiara was more than regalia. It was a crown of emotion. The public knew it. The palace knew it. And Queen Camilla, who had once hoped to wear such symbols herself, was reminded that some heirlooms carry ghosts. "It's never just a tiara," said Town & Country's royal editor. "It's who earned it, who wore it, and who the people remember." The history was undeniable. The symbolism was loaded, but it was the next woman who wore it that turned history into prophecy. When Kate Middleton first placed the lover's knot on her head in 2015, she knew exactly what it meant. She wasn't just wearing diamonds, she was accepting Diana's unfinished story. And with each reappearance, Kate stitched herself into that legacy. But the most emotional chapter began when Kate, herself, handed that tiara to her daughter. Kate's emotional return to Diana's legacy. When Kate Middleton first wore the lover's knot tiara in December 2015, it was seen as more than ceremonial. It was a quiet act of tribute. That moment, at a diplomatic reception at Buckingham Palace, marked Kate's deeper step into Diana's shadow. Her choice wasn't just a matter of protocol. It was deeply personal. She reportedly requested the tiara herself, aware of its emotional history and its weight in the public eye. Throughout the following decade, Kate wore the tiara only at carefully chosen moments. One of the most poignant came in July 2025 at a state banquet honoring President Emmanuel Macron of France. It was her first major royal event since being declared in remission from cancer earlier that spring. Standing beside Prince William, dressed in royal blue and the lover's knot sparkling against her carefully styled hair, Kate delivered a silent message: resilience, remembrance, and readiness to lead. Each time Kate appeared in Diana's signature tiara, it reignited comparisons across media platforms. Commentators noted that Kate's demeanor, elegant, composed, but never showy, mirrored Diana's quiet strength in public life. From Hong Kong in 1989 to London in 2025, the symbolism had shifted hands, but the spirit endured. Through Kate, Diana's values, empathy, dignity, and devotion, were reborn in a modern frame. It was no surprise, then, that when Princess Charlotte appeared wearing the same tiara just weeks later, it didn't feel rushed. It felt like the natural continuation of a legacy carefully preserved. Kate, ever aware of the emotional temperature around royal tradition, had once again used symbolism not to dazzle, but to speak. "When Catherine wears it, the world remembers Diana," said a palace historian. "When Charlotte wears it, the world sees the future." By the time Charlotte stepped into that ballroom, the groundwork had been laid by Kate herself. Diana's legacy hadn't been buried. It had been carefully revived and passed forward. But with legacy comes pressure, and no one understood this more than Queen Camilla. While the public cheered Charlotte's grace, Camilla's face told a more complicated story. In the next moment, under the same chandeliers where Diana once stood, Camilla would come face to face with the emotional power of history. Public reaction and media frenzy. The fallout was immediate. Within minutes of Charlotte's appearance in The Lover's Knot, social media platforms surged with emotion. Hashtags like #Princess Charlotte, #Diana's Tiara, and #People's Princess 2.0 trended worldwide on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Viral posts comparing Charlotte's tiara debut to Diana's 1980s portraits were shared thousands of times. "She looks just like Diana," one post read. Another simply stated, "The crown has chosen." Tabloids ran with it. Headlines like, "Diana's legacy lives in Charlotte," and "Camilla steps back as Charlotte steps forward," dominated the next day's editions of the Daily Mail, Hello, and The Telegraph. Public fascination with the tiara wasn't about diamonds. It was about memory, identity, and emotional allegiance. The world didn't just see a little girl in jewels. They saw continuity. They saw the monarchy reshaping before their eyes. But inside the palace, things weren't quite so celebratory. Sources close to Queen Camilla reported that she was visibly emotional during Charlotte's entrance. Though she remained composed in public, aides say she left the banquet early, citing a migraine. The press didn't miss it. "Camilla appeared shaken," wrote one Vanity Fair correspondent. The contrast between Camilla's restrained appearance and Charlotte's luminous debut couldn't have been more stark. For Camilla, the moment wasn't just about a tiara, it was about a legacy she could never fully claim. Her own royal jewels, including the Greville honeycomb tiara and pieces from Queen Elizabeth II's private collection, carried prestige, but never the emotional gravity of Diana's Lover's Knot. "You can't compete with history," noted a royal commentator, and this time, history was on Charlotte's head. The tension in the air that evening wasn't scripted. It was deeply human. While the world celebrated Charlotte, Camilla's quiet retreat hinted at something more profound: the unspoken competition for public affection. The tiara had reawakened the soft power of Diana's image and pointed it squarely toward Kate and Charlotte. As debates sparked across headlines and dinner tables, the question wasn't just who wore it best, but what does it mean when the tiara returns to the people's line? Camilla versus Kate. Camilla has never lacked jewels. From the Graf pink diamond tiara to the regal Delhi Durbar, her collection is vast and historic. But where Kate's jewelry choices evoke memory, Camilla's often represent establishment. Therein lies the quiet divide. Camilla wears tradition. Kate wears sentiment. And on this night, Charlotte became the embodiment of that sentiment, wrapped in legacy, innocence, and public admiration. Since her marriage to King Charles III in 2005, Camilla worked hard to build acceptance. By 2022, she had earned the Queen Consort title with grace, and in 2023, she led key diplomatic efforts across the Commonwealth. Yet public opinion has always favored Kate, whose appearances resonate beyond protocol. Where Camilla once hoped to redefine the monarchy, Kate and Charlotte may have already done it, without a word. The tiara became the flashpoint. Insiders suggest Queen Elizabeth II, in her final years, privately entrusted Diana's emotional legacy to Kate, not Camilla. Though no formal bequeathing occurred, the repeated loans and visible wearings made the message clear. The crown would pass down emotionally through the Wales line, not the consort branch. Camilla's tears weren't just for the past. They were for a realization that no matter the titles, the soft power of the people now rested with Kate and Charlotte. The tiara wasn't merely worn. It was claimed. "She may be queen by name," said one courtier, "but tonight, the public crowned someone else. Royal rules of the tiara. Behind the dazzle lies deep protocol. Royal tiaras, especially pieces like the Lover's Knot, crafted in 1913–14 and once worn by Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth II, Princess Diana, and now Kate and Charlotte, are rarely transferred without cause. Under the Royal Collection Trust's internal guidelines, these heirlooms are loaned, not gifted, and once loaned, they often remain within that wearer's symbolic purview, passed down only by unspoken sentiment or sovereign approval. Palace sources quietly confirmed that Princess Charlotte, wearing the tiara, didn't signal ownership, but rather legacy stewardship. According to insider Barbie Waring, tiaras choose their women. And for this one to now rest on a child's head says something profound, not about wealth or status, but trust. The tiara's reappearance, especially on such a young royal, breaks with recent tradition. Most tiaras aren't worn until marriage or adulthood. Yet, Charlotte, at just 10 years old, wore Diana's crown before even becoming a teenager. This raises new questions about the evolving expectations around royal women. While Camilla Parker Bowles waited decades before being publicly accepted in any ceremonial wear, Charlotte has seemingly stepped into history's glow without resistance. Why? Because she carries no baggage, only memory. No scandal, only story. And perhaps most importantly, she carries Diana's bloodline, and with it, emotional authority in the eyes of the people. Camilla, watching from across the ballroom, may have realized this. There were no sharp glares, no passive-aggressive protocol gestures, just quiet retreat. In that moment, she understood what she could never become, a former aide revealed. Beloved in the way Diana was, and now Charlotte is becoming. In the world of crowns, power doesn't just rest on one's head, it settles in the hearts of the people. The Lover's Knot may still belong to the palace vault, but emotionally, it now belongs to Charlotte. And while jewels can be locked away, the legacy they represent cannot. The next moment, the image of Charlotte in Diana's tiara would launch debates across generations, from drawing rooms to digital feeds. The monarchy had just shifted, and not everyone was ready. Charlotte's moment. Charlotte's posture at the July 15th event was unmistakable. Regal, but not rigid. No awkward glances, no forced smiles. She knew she was wearing something powerful, and she carried it with quiet composure. Yet behind the serene facade, conversations began to ripple through royal circles. Had she been allowed to wear it with Camilla's consent? Or was it a deliberate choice made by Kate and William to reassert Diana's lineage? Palace insiders deny any tension, calling the tiara a symbolic family piece. But body language experts noted Camilla's frozen expression and quick exit. One former courtier commented, "If it had been pre-approved, there would have been more smiles." Instead, it felt like a curveball, a poignant reminder that while Camilla holds the title of Queen Consort, it's the Wales family that holds the people's affection. Public. Reaction leaned hard into emotional interpretation. Social media burst with side-by-side comparisons of Charlotte and Diana at similar ages. Photos of Charlotte, in profile, wearing the tiara under soft lighting, were juxtaposed with Diana's iconic 1989 Hong Kong image, creating an eerie but touching visual lineage. The people weren't just reminiscing, they were choosing. The symbolism became crystal clear. This wasn't a moment of style, it was a message. "Charlotte doesn't need to say a word," said a BBC commentator. "Her presence in that tiara speaks volumes." Even as the public embraced Charlotte's quiet grace, the palace found itself navigating more than optics. The tiara had reopened emotional wounds, reignited generational comparisons, and brought private sentiments into the public arena. It wasn't just Camilla who felt the shift. Charles, aides, and even younger royals were paying attention. What had started as a moment of honor had become a moment of reckoning. And behind the sparkle lay something even more powerful: public memory. The public echoes of a twist. The fallout reached far beyond palace walls. Within 48 hours of the event, coverage extended internationally. The New York Times, Le Monde, and People magazine all ran features framing Charlotte as the new emotional heir to Diana's public image. Commentary ranged from respectful admiration to intense speculation about the family's internal dynamics. Everyone had the same question: had the monarchy just declared its future unofficially? Across Britain, conversations swirled in salons, schools, and parliament corridors. The public was captivated not just by the tiara, but by the idea that a child born in 2015 could carry the emotional resonance of a woman lost in 1997. Diana's story wasn't fading. It was deepening, reawakening, and Camilla's tears, visible or not, became part of the discussion. Was it sorrow, resentment, or simply the realization that legacy cannot be negotiated? Royal correspondents suggested that Prince William had long desired this soft handover of Diana's memory, to steer public affection toward Kate and Charlotte, anchoring the monarchy's future in compassion rather than ceremony. Some insiders even hinted that the event had been carefully planned to coincide with key dates in Diana's public life. "There's no such thing as coincidence in royal optics," noted one royal analyst. "Only choreography." Meanwhile, palace sources revealed that Camilla had retreated to Raymill House for 4 days post-event, her longest stretch away from official duties in 2025. Her schedule was abruptly cleared, and planned interviews were cancelled. For a queen who'd once fought to be accepted, it felt like a quiet defeat. Charlotte had said nothing. Camilla had said even less. Yet the message echoed loud across Britain. There is a new emotional center in the royal family. The monarchy isn't just about who wears the crown, it's about who carries the heart. And with that heart came power, symbolism, and a subtle changing of the guard. But the final signal of what's truly next would come not in jewels, but in how the family reacts, reforms, and reclaims its future. What's next for the royal family? Insiders suggest Kate will once again wear the lover's knot during the upcoming U.S. state visit in September 2025, a poignant opportunity to showcase continuity, especially with Charlotte by her side. Meanwhile, Charlotte's role is expected to increase gradually, with appearances planned at charitable youth events and official holidays. But beyond protocol, a new narrative is taking shape, one in which emotional truth carries more power than tradition. As Camilla's presence wanes, her public image is evolving, not as the villain of old tabloid headlines, but as a woman who knows the tides are shifting. Her Commonwealth Day appearance in March 2026 will be watched closely. Will she reclaim her narrative, or pass the torch quietly? For now, she's still queen. But the emotional monarchy seems to be in younger hands. The lover's knot, tiara, for all its glimmer, now represents something heavier: choice. The queen chose Kate. Kate passed it to Charlotte. And in doing so, they bypassed an entire era of silence, pain, and carefully measured appearances. It was soft power, wrapped in pearls. "Diana never got to finish her story," said a palace insider. "But Charlotte might,